So I've been seeing these news circulating online that a company supposedly earned like $5 million worth in cloud usage in a single month. I mean, which sounds unbelievable, right? And honestly, my first reaction was like the same as many people: is that even possible? But when you think about it mathematically, it is possible, depending on the size of the company, how many agents they have operating, and whether or not they did set up guardrails in terms or usage caps for their AI models, right? Because how is it possible that a company could accumulate that amount of money in usage, like 500 million, $500 million in a single month, right? But for something like that to happen, it is possible. Again, a company would likely need almost no guardrail, like no cap, no limits in their spending, no internal monitoring, and possibly thousands of agents running without any monitoring at all, right? So that could happen. Because, for example, if you have agents running in a loop, let's say an agent got stuck, and then they deal with a huge context window. So if they keep submitting and over in that context window, double, triple, and stuff, yeah, it is possible. Mathematically, it is possible for this usage, $500 million. It is possible to happen, but how likely is that to happen? That's why I'm not sure if this news, this story is accurate. Maybe the number is exaggerated. Maybe it's just a clickbait headline. But either way, it brings up, it points something very real that many AI implementations still ignore, which is the token usage control, right? Many businesses, they implement AI agents. When they do implement the AI agents, they focus is mainly on making the system work. Like, can the agent do this? Can the agent do that? Can he connect to my CRM? Can he, produce the desired outcome? Which is, of course, that's the goal. But the one other question that comes to architecture. That's why I'm an advocate of always architecting system, planning, designing the system before you actually go to the implementation, because it's going to save you a lot of headaches. It's going to save your business a lot of money, lots of money. So it's important that you if you don't have an in-house resource to architect this kind of solutions, hire someone who can architect this kind of solutions and design that system for you, your AI system, your AI agent, so you avoid headaches and things like this are spending so much money that you didn't budget for. Again, this is where the stories like this is a horror story. Like, even if it's not true, even depending on the size of the company, I mean, $500 million in 1 month of usage, it's a lot, right? So, but for other business, maybe $1 million is way too much. Maybe 500,000 is way too much. Regardless, depending on the size of your business, right? You got to pay attention to the architecture. You got to build that system in a way where you can have observability, right? You can monitor what's going on. You have this visibility on how much token each operation is consuming, right? For example, if you have an AI agent classifying your leads that come in, send your CRM, reading your emails, and filtering your emails also to capture leads, etc., etc. You got to know. You got to have full visibility what's going on behind the scene. I'm strongly against having AI as a black box, and AI implementation is a black box. So you don't know what's going on. You just trust that it's doing what it's supposed to do now. You should have observability. You should know what's happening behind the scene, how much token it's using, what's the level of confidence in its response. There was any error, the agent got stuck with something and you had to go around, etc. Kind of have that visibility to know where to improve and make things more efficient, right? So a well-built AI system should not just be functional. It should be observable, controlled, and cost-aware. That means thinking through things like spending caps, token budgets, model routing, usage alerts, customer level limits, agent level limits, fallback model, retry limits, loop detection, escalation rules, etc., etc. Not, for example, if you are architecting an AI solution, one thing to keep in mind: not every task needs the most expensive model. Maybe you don't need Claude for the simple task, right? Maybe a cheaper model or a cheaper version of Claude, if you prefer to say Claude, it's more than enough for that simple task of classifying, for example. if an email, for example, is spam or it's a lead, you don't need that complex model, right? And for certain tasks, you need the most expensive model, the smartest model possible, because it's important, it's critical for your business. You need to invest in a good model. But again, for other models, you can just use a cheaper model. So this is part of the architectural design, right? That's during the architecture design, you decide like, okay, for the specific task, I'm going to use this model, or your architect, the person designing this, okay, you can use this model here. It's going to save you money because this task is pretty simple. It doesn't need a strong model. Yeah, because it's critical to the business. Let's use this smart model, for example, right? So this is just an example of things that you would have to do it during planning, architecture, designing the system. Another thing is like, okay, how are we going to have control? How are we going to see what is spending what, right? For example, classifying, let's say leads coming to your system, emails coming to your system, you have this model classifying that email, how much did you spend classifying that email or this group of email? And then in the business critical operation, how much did we have to pay in usage to achieve that outcome, right? And then when you have those numbers, those metrics, you compare that against your budget, and then you can see like, okay, maybe we need to improve the prompt because it's spending a lot of money. It should, and it's kind of more than what we budget for. So is there a way we can improve that, make it more cost efficient? And that's when that's what I also recommend always having a maintenance or support and maintenance agreement to keep improving your AI system, like you do with any software, right? Keep upgrading, keep improving, right? Because usually when you implement a system, obviously you need that period of time where you're gonna keep, fine tuning, make it work like a well-oiled machine. You gotta maintain it. You gotta, when it comes to AI, because the same way you would invest in a person, you have like programs to recycle employees. You have like training for employees. You gotta have this ongoing training for AI too, so you can perform at its best. So for the specific problem, for example, of AI usage, for example, if you're using Cloud, ChatGPT, all these major AI model providers, they allow you to set up a spending count. For example, you can say, okay, I don't want to spend more than, depending on the size of your company, 100,000 a month in AI usage, or 10,000 a month. Maximum I want to spend is 10,000 a month in AI usage, for example. And usually that should kind of prevent you going over that budget. But there's the catch. Usually when you set up the budget, they also give you the option to say like, oh, whenever it gets, for example, to 75% of the budget, recharge. Like you can automatically go to the account and kind of buy more AI credits or things like that. Which means if you don't have a monitoring system in place, it can keep recharging, and then by the end of the month, you realize that you spent $100,000 in AI usage, and you didn't notice because you didn't have the right system in place to kind of prevent that, right? So what I would say on top of what you usually do, right? Like again, we every day in the battlefield implement AI agents. We come across all these situations. And that's why I always recommend any project that we're starting. We always recommend, let's start with architecture, define the goals, define like the cost control, observability, what we need to know, make sure things doesn't go off a rail, what the guardrails are to protect AI, the compliance, etc., right? But again, you go in your AI system, for example, OpenAI or Anthropic, and you say like, okay, I don't want to spend more than 10,000, but you have it to renew automatically when you get out of credits. You use your credit card on file, and then it renews. If any of your agent, for example, there's a bug and it gets stuck on a loop, it keeps going, you use all your credit, and then because you ran out of credit, and then OpenAI or Anthropic automatically charges you for another 10 grand, and then you can imagine what's going to happen, right? So that's why it's important to have other level of controls. One is it's good to have that in the agent level. For example, when you build an agent, you can say like, you are not allowed to spend more than this. And if you get, for example, 75% or 80% of the budget that you allocated to each agent, send me a test, for example, right? You can have that as in some systems. That's what we did. The owner wanted to be notified by text, like, hey, this AI agent already consumed this amount of tokens and is about to stop operating because you put a guardrail in the system. Like if it gets to this budget, it wouldn't work anymore. Of course, we don't want that to happen. That's why you need to set like a threshold, like reminding me at 75%, sending me a text or an email so I can go and check what's going on and eventually increase the allocation if necessary, or the budget, etc., etc. And also figure it out, like if the agent spent more than we're supposed to spend, it was supposed to spend, why? So that's when you need visibility, you need observability, you need to know what's going on. You cannot have AI as a black box in your business, not knowing what's going on. So if an agent is spending more than what you're thinking, then you should be able to go in the logs. You should have a log that you can see like the consumption, like, oh, I see this week you used a lot because, I don't know, there was many more people using it, which hopefully that's more business for you, fine. Or there wasn't many people, but he used a lot. So probably he got stuck in a loop or something. Then there's a bug that needs to be fixed. So either way, whatever it is, you need observability. That's the keyword, observability. You need to be able to observe how the AI is behaving, what it's doing, his level of confidence, how much is spending, etc., etc. That's something that a lot of businesses ignore, and they pay a high cost for that. And you don't want to be this kind of business, regardless of your size. You're going to have all the guardrail in place. Whenever you're using AI, make sure you have guardrails. And when it comes to cost and obviously compliance, make sure you have guardrails in place so it doesn't provide legal advice, things that you shouldn't do. But in this case, talking about that story, which again we don't know if it's true, I couldn't verify if it's true or not, that a company spent $500 million in 1 month in token usage, which is crazy. And but there's definitely something that would be possible if the company didn't have any guardrail in place, any cost control. They didn't implement any mechanism in the agent to block the agent from using more than it should, which is one of the main techniques you can use to prevent the AI from using more than it should, right? Another thing you can do, you can also, if you have, let's say, for example, you have a subscription-based product, right? And you can say like, okay, each user shouldn't spend more than this amount. You can put cap per user, per agent. The most safest approach is putting cap per user, meaning each user of this AI that comes with this AI agent cannot spend X amount. And that specific agent also cannot spend X amount, right? So with that, you would be safe because it's already programmed. There's a guardrail blocking the agent just from spending more than it should. So hopefully this video has provided you with valuable insight or strategies or on how to prevent things or stories like these. No one wants to spend this amount of money in AI usage, right? Mainly if you find out that's because you didn't have the right monitoring in place, you didn't have the right observability, it really hurts. So, and it's a kind of pain that my team and I would like to help business avoid by recommending by work on the architectural design first before you even get into implementation. We kind of design everything and put all the things in place. Okay, this is a measure we're going to have in place to prevent these things to happen, and then we pass to the implementation. That's how you should do it. Don't skip. My honest advice as a business owner or you implementing AI, any AI solution, do not skip the architectural part, or it might cause you a lot of headache down the road. Focus, invest in architecture, right? You got architecture figured out, the design figured out, then implementation is going to be less stressful because there's a clear roadmap how things should be implemented, so people can follow to implement, and you're not going to have unpleasant surprise down the road. Again, hopefully this video provided you the valuable insight. Make sure you like and subscribe. We love having these conversations, and very soon we're going to be uploading more videos, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching this video, and see you in the next one.